ago. So actually, right after the pod, I lost my phone last week. I don't want to. That's what I talked about Tuesday to open the show. So I won't go into that. But we found it, and man, it's just good to talk some football and good to get some things are happening, right? Like we're starting to get some ideas of what's going on. Carson Wentz trade went down. We're getting the thumbs up from John as well. So let's do it. Let's talk some Broncos football, baby.
Yeah, Carson Wentz, man. We definitely got to get into that. But what's going on, Broncos country? He's Nick Kendell. I'm Luke Patterson. This is the Mile High Insiders. John Beast on the ones and twos. Welcome, guys. And Nick and I were just talking about the weather because outside of quarterbacks and the weather, there's not a lot going on, right? I mean, that's kind of it in the country of the good US of A. If you're down south, I
saw today the Avalanche. I'm not a hockey fan at all, but there was supposed to be a game outdoors with the on Lake Tahoe, and it was too warm, so they canceled it. And then they gave a salute to service to a fireman there by the name of Dusty Gooch. So shout out to Dusty Gooch, who was the fireman that they gave a shout out to for the game today. He was trending on Twitter. I'm like, okay, I gotta click that. What's going on with Dusty Gooch?
Dusty Gooch. No, I love it, dude. I love it. My dad's a chief. I worked in the fire department for a few years, and I can tell you, those guys ate Dusty Gooch up in the firehouse for that name. I'm sure that they got after it. But anyways,
I wonder if he has a Manscaped sponsor.
Yeah. Oh, that's Dusty Gooch with Manscaped. Speaking of Manscaped, you know what? I'm just going to go with the Manscaped right now because
let's do it.
Dude, I love it, man. I was wearing some Manscaped cologne, Broncos country last night, had a few cold pops, got some compliments, made me feel good. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of today's show, we have got to say hello to our presenting sponsor, Manscaped. Listen up, guys. 2020 sucked, but it's 2021 now, which means it's time to embrace the new year, new me mindset. The best way to start cultivating that is with Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels and helping 2 million men around the world keep their male grooming on point. So here's the thing, guys. If you let yourself go in 2020 while in quarantine, I get it. But Manscaped is here for you. They're here to get you rebooted, keep you clean, keep you shaven in 2021.
Yeah, guys. I mean, Manscaped has obviously got a great line of products, but it's not just the shavers. I mean, they got, again, it's the small things in life, but I really think the crop mops are fantastic. Individually packed crop mops. They come with 15 individually wrapped units, and I am somebody who enjoys the great outdoors. Actually, one of my really good friends got me a pack rod for my birthday, and I'm going to do some backcountry fishing this year, hopefully get some trout. And one of my main essentials that I'm going to be bringing, they say 10 essentials, but my 11th essential is going to be the crop mop from Manscaped. So they got great items. And I know that quarantine can let some people down this year, but Manscaped's got your back and you can take care of your hygiene with great products such as the crop mop. Also, you mentioned that cologne. I just sprayed myself just now, the refined cologne. Yeah. It's good stuff. I mean, it smells great. So I'm not really, seeing too many people these days outside of the wife, but it's got the wife's approval. And, any of you married folks out there know that's all that really matters.
Well, and you know what's funny about that, Nick, is I put some on before the show too. I think it's kind of one of those things. I don't know why either, because you're not sitting here smelling me and I'm not sitting there smelling you. And Broncos country, you're not doing it either, thank goodness. But it's just kind of one of those things where it like boosts your confidence. You feel good, you look good, you smell good, you feel good, right?
Yeah, some people like the smelling salts, right? This puts us in the right mind of action. You get that scent and you're like, oh, we're ready to do some podcasting.
Exactly. So that's the thing, guys. Come out of quarantine well-groomed. And here's the thing. The Lawnmower 3.0, this thing is fantastic. This is waterproof, and the skin-safe trimmer will reduce nicks to your two best friends. The third-generation trimmer even has a light to illuminate those hard and awkward spots in 2021. Here's the thing. Manscaped even threw in their shed travel bag to keep all your goodies stored comfortably. Speaking of comfort, the Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs are also included and are hands down the best underwears you will ever wear. 2020 was awful. So guys, be sure to make sure you're right. Get your boys refreshed and get ready for a new beginning in 2021. Embrace that new year, new me mindset with Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Your family jewels will thank you.
Yeah, guys, that's right. Get 20% off on top of free shipping if you use the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com if you use the code HUDDLE. Happy New Year, happy Valentine's Day, happy St. Patrick's Day coming up. Spring's just around the corner. You got to take care of yourself, and that starts with taking care of the boys, and you can do that with Manscaped.
I love it, dude. Manscaped's got our back. And Speaking of having your back, Broncos country has always had our back, and I could see a huge following right now with over 100 folks. It looks like we've got 4 likes. Get those little thumbs up and get at us, Broncos country, because we are the Mile High Insiders on your Saturday night. If you're watching on Facebook or want to get in on Facebook, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Twitter at MHI_football pod. He's at Nick Kendell, MHH. I'm at Luke Patterson, LP. You can find great content on our official Twitter feed at Mile High Huddle. And here we go. All right, Nick, it seems like we are just the quarterback, man. There's not a day or a week that goes by without grumblings, rumblings, action. I mean, it's the off season, and the Broncos are bad, and they're bad and boring, but man, as a writer, as an analyst, we're busy, dude. We're really busy, not just preparing for the draft, but trying to catch up with some of the news. What do you make of just this? I don't know how to describe it. It feels like it's a forever changing landscape of what the Broncos are going to do at the quarterback position.
Well, I mean, make no mistake about it. They are in the quarterback market right now. Drew Lock has some upside. He showed well down the stretch. He's still young. He's still under contract very cheaply for the next 2 years. But, you know, Vic Fangio, Peyton, Shermer, looking for an upgrade for Drew Lock, in the very least competition. So it's going to continue to be a topic until it's not. The Broncos are going to continue to be one of the odds-on favorites for the quarterbacks that are available just because they're one of the teams that are active right now. I mean, it's just process of elimination. They're one of the teams that are looking. So it doesn't mean that they are going to bring in anybody splashy. A lot of things can happen. You know, it could range from getting Deshaun Watson all the way down to bringing in like a Nick Foles or something. You know, there's a wide range of outcomes. But the Broncos aren't in the worst position. They have an upside quarterback that's shown he can play in the league, and there's still upside there to go with. You know, there's tangible play that he can still reach. So they're not in the worst spot, but still, it's going to continue to be a conversation until it's not. And that's on Drew Lock. If he would have played better last year, then we wouldn't be in this conversation. But here we are. So we got a lot of people coming in. Buana's working the ones and twos in the background. Swink McLeod. Hello all. Hello to you, Swink. I see Mundungus is in the chat. CG Orange Crush. Obviously, we got Tyler Randall. Let's get in this first super chat right here. I'm going to click on this one, Buana, here real quick. Okay, just wanted to pop in and show some love. We love you for that, Tyler. Keep up the great work. Denver Broncos for life and state of being. Well, Tyler, we really do appreciate you swinging by. Hopefully you will continue to join in the conversation, guys. You obviously don't have to donate to flash you up here to see you.
That's right.
We're here for the conversation as well. You guys dictate what Luke and I talk about. I mean, you're just as much about it as we are. Mohammed Badri coming in, the man, always rocking that merch. He says Braun and the Smooth Killer in the house. I'm digging the Braun. I don't know if again
is that. I asked Buana about that, and it was funny because I heard that Muhammad gave you a nickname at first, and you didn't like that one. So then
Jon Snow,
you had to get a second nickname. Is that? Do I understand that right? Because I mean, once I found this out, I had to sit on it so we could get it on air. I could get you to blush just a little bit.
I do blush really easily. John, it's just such, I mean, he's like the main protagonist, but he's just so like prissy and like always just like moody. And I don't know, I'd rather have somebody with a little bit more wit. And that Braun definitely has that. I always thought he was funny. And I didn't want to be Tyrion because that's just too obvious. So went with Braun there, but I appreciate it. He's a good one. I got to give some shout out to some of those guys those auxiliary characters that really make the shows like that. But we also got another super chat right here. I'm going to pull that one up here real quick. From Brian Greenfield. My question is, if we are willing to consider giving up enough to get Watson, don't we think we should or could go after Zach Wilson or even the number 1 pick for what it would take to get Watson? I mean, if the Broncos, this is an interesting one. I'll kick it off to you first because I do have some ideas, but I'm curious what you have to say, Luke.
Man, Zach Wilson, I feel like the buzz about him is growing, just like it's all going to be growing with the rest of these quarterbacks coming up in the draft. You're going to see, dude, I'm expecting Mac Jones. Man, he might surprise some people. I know I'm not saying he's the answer, but guys, teams get desperate to pick quarterbacks. They pick them early. Man, Zach Wilson, I don't see Zach Wilson getting past a lot of teams in this draft. To me, it's still, if you love the guy, go after him. And obviously the subject of the show tonight is, a Houston Chronicle reporter who's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, by the way, so not a joke by any means, is saying, I guarantee you Deshaun Watson's not coming to the Broncos, and we will get to that. But to answer Brian's question, man, same theory. If you love Zach Wilson and you make him your guy, you better go get him. I mean, and it's going to cost you something. So if you're willing to trade for Deshaun Watson and that doesn't work out or manifest itself or nothing happens between now and the draft, yes, go draft a quarterback. If you feel like that's your guy, go get him.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I wasn't sure if it was on this show or Building the Broncos, but it was a show we had in mid-December where we were on this very topic and met with a lot of pushback. Honestly, a lot of pushback early on saying like, Drew Lock hasn't shown enough. Sure. If they love one of the quarterbacks in this class, outside of Trevor Lawrence, because I still am assuming he's going number one, there's no reason they shouldn't at least explore the possibilities to go up for that guy. Now, obviously, there's a cost. You might be outbid by another team. There's a point where it doesn't make sense. But, if there's a guy you love in the draft, you go get him because you just don't know with Drew Lock yet. And if you don't know, you have to at least look at the possibilities. I do think, though, there is a little bit of a distinction between trading for a Deshaun Watson versus trading for a draft, and that is just the known quantity. I mean, you already know that Deshaun Watson, 25 years old, and also under contract for a while. I mean, it's not like it's this worst contract ever. And honestly, there's TV money coming down the tracks here pretty soon. There's going to be new TV deals with the NFL, and the cap is going to balloon after that. And Deshaun Watson's contract is probably going to look like, in that 10 to 15 range after that huge surplus comes down the line. Now, we might be talking 1 or 2 years down the line, but still, it's not going to be a big deal. Everybody's like, oh, you can't pay him. A lot of that guarantee is going to stay with Houston if he does get traded. So it's going to be a very palatable contract. He's still 25. He's already a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the NFL. It's a known quantity. And if the costs are anywhere similar between trading up for a quarterback, getting from like 9 to 3 or 2 versus trading for Deshaun Watson, which honestly, the package would be probably similar because you only can trade 3 years worth of picks or up to 3 years in the future. Then you lean Watson, known quantity, already a top 20, already a top 5 quarterback. Next 10 to 15 years. I mean, he's good. You don't know if Trey Lance, if Mac Jones, if Zach Wilson, if Justin Fields are going to be good. Deshaun Watson is good.
Yeah, that's just it, man. He's a proven commodity. There's not a price tag in the world. But don't forget, Broncos country, we are the Drew Lock haters. I mean, the MHI football podcast here on your Saturday night. So I've just started to embrace it, dude. I'm embracing it full on, man. Yep, I do. I can't stand him. It's just too much. I'm going to go full Colin Cowherd here in a second and start getting after people that wear their hats backwards and played AAU basketball. How ridiculous was that, by the way, dude? Like, we get it, dude, but stop beating a dead horse, man. You want to talk about a hater, dude? Well, Colin Cowherd, how about his comments this week, Nick? I mean,
that's just having a take to have a take. You have a certain amount of airtime, and you don't know what you're talking about. And Colin, I mean, I know he had like a heart scare recently, like he had to be taken to the hospital, and he was out for a bit. So, I mean, maybe he's not up to date on everything, but that's one of those things where, okay, we have a certain amount of time. Let's get an inflammatory comment out there and see how much traction we can get. And I respect the game. I get it. You're getting views. Sure. We're talking about it right now.
Sure,
you did it, but I'm not putting any stock in that at all. But I'm putting some stock here in this comment from Zach with his beautiful bride here. Congratulations. That's a recent one.
What's up, brother?
Luke, Nick, and company, keep up the great work and go Broncos. Also, Deshaun to Denver, whatever it takes.
I love
that's
it.
Something we should talk about too at some point about like at what point is it too much to go get Deshaun Watson? Because you've said whatever it takes. I think there's probably a line where it's like, I don't know if it's worth giving up that much pieces to go get him because you're really killing yourself. But I don't know that we'd have to actually parse through that to really get to that line. But let's get to the topic of choice here. You kind of teased it a second ago. John McClain, writer for the Houston Chronicles, I believe, who's been an insider for the Texans organization for a while. I would compare him. I would say he's essentially the Mike Kliss for the Houston Texans media. He's a guy who's probably as plugged in, connected as anybody, one of the first ones. If there's a breaking story, other guys will sometimes get it. That's true too. But I would say that Mike Kliss is probably
how about Jeff
face.
How about Jeff Legwold? So we can keep it kind of like ESPN. I don't know if he writes though. That's the thing. And Jeff is like one of our idols, right? I mean, he's like one of the best writers of all time, dude. Yeah. And he's right here in our backyard. So it's tough, man. Because like you're saying, dude, you're trying to not just build this guy up, but you're trying to just be accurate here and telling these guys like, hey, this is a dude who is in the know. This is a guy who deserves respect. I mean, go over to his Twitter, dude, and just see, but he does cause some trouble, Nick. He loves to cause some trouble. And he was on the Denver radio for 2 days. I know he was on the Fan, and then he went to KOA also. And that's where we're hearing these guarantees. He says, I guarantee you Deshaun Watson to Denver will not happen. And when I heard it, it made me mad. When you heard it, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you looked at it and it was like, how silly. How silly is this? You know,
he also guaranteed that he was more likely to be the next head coach of the Houston Texans rather than Deshaun Watson being traded. So we're already past that point, and that point is going to keep moving. You know, that's just how it is. So yeah, it will be interesting. But still, he said that the New York Jets are the number one team right now. McClain was the one who also said D Hop isn't getting traded. Thank you, Yordi Lopez, very much. We're going to get to that as well. I mean, again, I don't want to say that he's state media because he is one of the better, more respected guys in Houston, but you have to understand there's a spin on this, and he is being directly fed from the Texans organization. And because of that, it is going to be a front of what is best case scenario for the Houston Texans. First, it was not trading Deshaun Watson because your top 5 quarterback under 25 years old. Of course you don't want to trade him. Duh. Right. So now it's like, oh, he might be traded, but the only team he's really going to be possibly going to is the team that can offer us far and away the most draft capital. That's what the Houston Texans would want. The team that has the number 2 overall pick, another first-round pick this year, can offer 2 first-round picks in 2022 as well. I mean, duh. Of course, if the Texans had their way and they had to trade Deshaun Watson, it would be to the Jets. But that doesn't get into the fact that there's this no trade clause. The Jets have been a horrible organization forever.
We forgot about the no trade clause, right, Nick? We don't even want to talk about that. And DNV3 coming in can we throw that back up there? I'll read it. Did John McClain forget Watson has a no trade clause? That's exactly it. So Broncos country, I don't get your daubers down. I get that everybody's still a little upset about Nolan Arenado and all that stuff. And, you know, you can't watch the Nuggets and the Avs. Yeah, I don't care. I'll be straight up honest. I don't care. Football is the only thing that matters in my life.
And your family and daughters.
In terms of sports, though, dude, there is nothing. I mean, college football is even a distant second just because I'm trying to just outside of the draft, man. This is just the king. This is the king, dude. Football is life, man. And Broncos country, do not fall for the banana in the tailpipe. And here's the thing, man. I'm always saying watch out for the Broncos spin. Well, Nick is saying watch out for the Texans spin because, guys, every team spins things to reporters. Every team has I don't want to use the word mouthpiece because that's very disrespectful. I see that floated out there a lot, but teams have sources that they like to give info to at certain times when it's most beneficial to them. So I think that's one of those things that we're seeing right now with the Houston Texans. The PR with the Houston Texans and the rest of the world right now is just awful. So why wouldn't you come out and say an outrageous statement like this? I mean, it makes sense, but I don't think it's accurate. I'm not putting a ton of weight into it. Everybody's got narratives, Nick. Everybody's got narratives, man. And
it's this time of year, man. When you hear like, oh, I heard from sources. First off, why is that source leaking that information? And what do they have to gain from that information getting out there? You know, obviously, there's a lot of information out there and a lot of misinformation out there, but something like this is like, well, I think the reason that this is happening is because, it's coming from the Texans. Oh, the team that he's most likely to go to is the Jets because they can offer far and away the most. Here's your sign. Right. Duh. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I know that this is something interesting too. It seems like on a lot of sports bookies right now, the Broncos are now becoming the number 1 favorite outside of the Texans for where Deshaun Watson will land. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Chad just threw down an article on milehighhuddle.com talking about that, and I loved it, dude. I think the Broncos are at plus 150, and the Texans are at plus 300. So Broncos have twice as likely a chance, according to the wise guys in Vegas, of landing Deshaun Watson than the Texans are of keeping him. I think that's very interesting. It's not something that I'm going to go start getting ready for a Deshaun Watson jersey or anything like that, but I think it shows you there's what happens, Nick, when there's smoke, there's usually fire, right? So we know that these phone calls are being made. We know that the Broncos are trying. I talked to some insiders too, and they're like, look, man, they're going after the big fish. The big fish are Deshaun Watson and maybe Russell Wilson, if that even happens. And that's a big if, but they don't really. Dak Prescott, I'm not hearing a lot about Dak, man, with that second surgery.
Palmer is the one who said they would go after Dak if he became available, but they are exceedingly unlikely. I mean, we saw what happened to the Texans or the Cowboys this year after Dak went down. I mean, he was throwing 400 yards a game and losing games like 42-35. Yeah. Like, your defense sucks. It's not on Dak. But if he becomes available, that might change things.
Yeah, and that's just it, man. And then you're going to have to figure out which direction you want to go. But that's another thing I wanted to ask Broncos country and ask you. I mean, if you're the Houston Texans, yeah, you guys have a little bit of power. Deshaun has a little bit of power, but I mean, sooner or later, someone's got to flinch. If you're the Houston Texans, when are you going to get this deal done? Because what if the draft comes and goes, Nick? The draft comes and goes, and the Houston Texans are sitting there in training camp, and Deshaun Watson's not there. Then what? Then his price tag goes down, right? I mean, then the draft has happened. Teams have started to formulate a plot. Could they try to get away with a little bit of a steal at that point? A team like the Broncos? I don't know, because I wrote about it with my Jacoby Brissett article, and it was like, look, George Payton, you need to make a decision, dude. Like, you need to either offer them something that they will not refuse. I feel like Don Corleone here, or go another direction. It's that simple. And that other direction could be the draft. You could fall in love with a quarterback and go get him, a Trey Lance, a Zach Wilson. Go get him. Go get him. Yeah. But this is taking a long time, and I'm getting impatient because, dude, tis the season, right? Tis the season. It's the season of lies, but it's the season where you got to get stuff done. Free agency is opening up relatively soon. The Broncos have tons of decisions to make here in this next week with regards to Justin Simmons and Von Miller and some of these things like that. So, dude, George Payton's got to make some decisions, man. Which way do you want to go?
I will push back a little bit with the quarterback situation, is that the Broncos are in a good spot because of the contract situation with Drew Lock. They're not a team that has massive financial commitments to their quarterback position in general, which means that they can play the long game. They can wait out a little bit and see what happens. And that means, thank you, Jay, for that. They can see what happens. And let's get back to Dak here real quick with this is not exactly Dak, but this makes me think of Dak.
I love that picture.
Yeah, right. DeHayen coming in here. I've heard that the lack of team ownership and liquid cash is a potential issue with the Watson contract. Can you explain like I'm five? Well, I think that with Watson, maybe it's not as much of an issue because the thing with these contracts, and it would be an issue with Dak Prescott if the Broncos were able to go get him, is that when you pay a contract for a player, you have to be able to put that player's entire signing bonus into escrow, which means that, let's say you get like a $200 million signing bonus that's prorated over the salary cap over the duration of that contract. You still have to pay everything up front. So a team like the Broncos right now that are, a little bit cash poor, the unknown ownership. I mean, they can take out loans and get some money still, but still, that's not exactly what you want to do from an organizational standpoint. So Watson's guaranteed money is already paid. That's going to stick on that Watson contract. There's going to be dead cap. I mean, we saw with, was it Carson Wentz contract? It's like $30.3 million dead cap for the Eagles this year. That's because that's the dead cap with the guarantees and that signing bonus sticking on that contract with the Eagles. So really, it's not as much of an issue with someone like Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun Watson's also only scheduled to make like $10.5 million against the cap this year, like his on his salary cap hit. So he's a great salary cap option for the Broncos. Actually, I don't know if the liquid cash is at all an issue. Now, that does mean there's a little bit of pressure to get this ownership situation solved because there are some big cap hits coming down the line. But right away, I think it's actually one that's very digestible for the Broncos for where they stand.
As we talk about cap, and that was a great question. Thank you very much for the super and for joining the Mile High Insiders tonight. That was great. I loved it. And Nick, that was a great answer, dude, because I needed that explained to me like I was five also, because, dude, the salary cap, man, there's a reason they've got these capologists, right? And these teams got these analytic departments. These things matter, folks. Yeah, we got our very own Bob Morris. That's great. Dude, I want to call him the professor like John Clayton. The Professor Bob Morris. You start giving out nicknames because, guys, get a Bob Morris, too, on Twitter. I can't remember his Twitter handle, but go over to Mile High Huddle and you'll see some of his work. He's our capologist in Mile High Huddle, dude. He does some of the best work in terms of crunching numbers, projections. I think he's got some work coming out, if I'm not mistaken, here in this next week. And he kills it for us, man, and absolutely slays those numbers because Muhammad Badri's coming in here. Help me give nicknames for Eric and Lance. Dude, yeah, I'm not the nickname guy. That's you, Muhammad, man. I'm gonna just defer to you, brother, because I don't wanna rattle any feathers with my MHH brethren. So
the pinky in the brain.
The pinky in the brain. There you go. I like that. And Eric and Lance, we'll have to think about that one, because they both Wyoming guy and then an Alaska guy. It's a odd pair, but they do very well. And you can catch them every Friday night for the Dove Valley Deep Divers. But as we go, I want to say hi to Richie. Rich, what's going on, buddy? I see you in the house. Charlie Beagle, Travis Weber coming
James
in here.
Campbell.
Yeah, our own James Campbell, Robert Caslow, Chase is in here. If I'm not saying your name correctly, let me know. Dylan Von Arks coming in here. What's up, Richie? Yeah, dude, we've got all kinds of stuff going on, and EA Shalom is coming in here. When is Watson due money? That will be the deadline to move him or not. And Nick, I'm going to go ahead and pull up Deshaun Watson's contract info right now.
So yeah, like I said, a lot of his signing cap money, that's prorated over the duration of his contract year after year. It's kind of just it's a financial move. It's a way to make the money clean. And those guys are paid up front though. That signing cap and all that stuff, the signing bonus is all paid immediately, just spread out over the duration of the contract. He has a really palatable salary cap hit this year. I want to say it's 10.5 million, something around there. Then it jumps up to, is it 10.5? That number just sticks out in my head.
So 10.5 is the guaranteed salary for this year. So
yes.
just full transparency, base salary of 10.5, the prorated bonus. That one looks like a 5.4, and then guaranteed salary 10.5. The cap number is actually sitting at looks like 15.9.
Okay, well, I would need to look at it myself to see how it's all set up. They have it set up a very interesting way to read. Are you on Spock Track or Over the Cap?
Yeah. I'm on Over the Cap right now.
So either way, it's a very palatable cap hit this year. Then it jumps up a lot in 2022 and 2023, I think in that $35 million range. So that's just off the top of my head from reading it and sticking it in there. So, it will be interesting to see what happens. And there's obviously some guarantees that will come up, I believe, post June 1st as well with how that contract is set up. So the Texans are going to have to make a decision. And there's that big, huge impending clock that is the hello, Jamil Killings, killing it.
What's so up, happy. Buddy? Yeah, dude, I love it. We got to see more smiles in today's world, man, because there's so much stress going on. If you got, just enjoy the small things, smile. Hope we can make you smile, even if you guys want to take some poke fun at us for a little bit. But Jamal, thank you for, or Jamal, I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. Thanks for joining the MHI tonight, man. We really appreciate it. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. Mundungus, our friend. I'll take this one because Mundungus is never afraid to pull any punches, and he is a good friend of the show, along with the MHRT crew. And guys, get at Mundungus. He's a great guy. You guys will recognize some very familiar names that have been on the show, guests, regular Super Chat superstars, just like Mundungus. I think the queen of MHH herself is also on there. So go check out MHRT, man. They'll really appreciate it. They're a fun show. They're a great group of guys and gals. And here comes Mundungus with a $9.99 super. Appreciate you, brother. Happy belated birthday, by the way. On MHRT, we talked about what quarterbacks are an actual upgrade over Locke that are worth trading for, and what quarterbacks are only to be signed as a backup. What is that cutoff? Mundungus, that's a fantastic way of looking at things because you're using your brain. Anyone that breathes oxygen has to understand that, look, you're either going to get a superstar quarterback and he's your guy, or you're going to bring in competition for Drew Lock. Here's the thing. Can that competition beat Drew Lock? I think a lot of them can, Nick. I think a lot of them can. And they're obviously going to be being paid more money than Drew Lock. I think that is very likely. You're going to see a veteran quarterback coming in here rather than just saying, oh, yeah, we're going to just go sign a number two for signing a number two. Jeff Driscoll, like last year, and it just didn't work out. So the Broncos have to look at this as another potential starting quarterback coming in, whether I like it or not, because I don't like it. I don't like Andy Dalton. And that's why I liked Jacoby Brissett. I'm like, dude, he's they're not neither. Yeah, that's it, man. Neither one of them, like light my world on fire. Ryan Fitzpatrick and stuff like that too. But if we're being real, if we're being real, those are the options, Nick. And I think Mundungus hits the nail on the head there. What say you?
I mean, that's kind of the guys that are available, right? Like if you have a good quarterback and you're not a complete incompetent organization like the Texans have become, you hold on to that guy until maybe the very end of their contract. Now, obviously, there are some weird situations. You see guys like Ryan Tannehill. Who knows what will happen with a guy like Sam Darnold. But typically, if you have a good quarterback, you don't let them go. And sometimes that's to the detriment of the team. You see guys getting paid like Andy Dalton getting that second contract. Stupid idea. They should have just used him as a rookie contract and then said, you know what? Seen enough. Let's let you go. And that's not a bad strategy either. I think more teams should do that. You don't want to be paying 12%, 15% of your salary cap to a quarterback that's in that top 10 to 20 range. And a lot of teams do that and then they get stuck and sunk. So that is an interesting question. It's just the guys that are available. One name, I got to say, I was walking the dog last night and I was thinking, this would be a really interesting one. So there's a lot of teams that are in. Hello, Miller. Good to see a cute dog. I'm all about the dogs these days. Also, we got A Savage coming in. Hey, Broncos country.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Some older names, some guys that might become available. I know there's been some jokes about, Drew Brees coming back and his arm falling off, blah, blah, blah. What if this guy became available? It's a team that really needs to clear some cap room. Their window's probably closed. And there's been some interesting conversation between the two parties that this might be the end for this quarterback of this team. Ben Roethlisberger.
Yep.
If Ben Roethlisberger became available, would you be interested? Now, I know it's the end of his career. He is not a great dude, but he's still got talent. He's definitely raises the floor of the room. And he's somebody that I could see Vic Fangio saying, he's a known quantity. I know what I'm going to get from him. And if I can, you might even be able to trade like a 6th-round pick for him, a 5th-round pick, because this is the end of the road. And they're not going to be able to swallow his contract. So if Ben Roethlisberger became available, that's one that nobody's talked about yet that I was like, the Steelers really might be forced to move him because they just don't have the room for him.
Nick is, of course, referencing the news that broke this week that the Steelers are not committing to Ben Roethlisberger right now. That's been the shocker, right? And we see how these things work out, like with Tommy last year, right? The
one door closes, another opens.
Yeah, Patriots aren't committing to Tom Brady. I mean, obviously different circumstances, but Nick, that's a question Man, I don't have an answer for you. I guess I'd have to really give that some thought. Initially, I want to say no right away, but then I start thinking, and like you, I'm thinking, okay, known commodities. Fangio does like that.
Short-term commitment.
Cheap.
You don't have to worry about the offense that much because Ben Roethlisberger can come in. And I don't love Ben Roethlisberger. Don't get me wrong, but he's a future Hall of Fame quarterback. And if you're looking for, especially somebody like Vic Fangio, somebody to get me over this hump to get me into contention this year, I just think it's one that is interesting. And Big Ben is washed up, won't make this team anywhere. I mean, this is what people were saying about Tom Brady last year. And I definitely think you have some merit to that. But let's say if your options are Andy Dalton or Big Ben, I might lean for Big Ben just because then I worry less about the offense.
Here's another thing, though, that bothers me. You're right. I would lean Big Ben, too. But, man, Big Ben, dude, is beat up. He's beat up. He's taken so many shots. His health is such a problem every year. And I just feel like we're watching an all-time great just die really slowly, his career. And it's sad. And I don't like it, man, because Ben, I hate the Steelers. I hate them a lot. Not as much as the Raiders, but they're a classy organization. Ben is obviously
love Tomlin. I'm a big Mike Tomlin fan.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the Steelers are popular. We all watch the Steelers and make sure that we are keeping tabs. And speaking of keeping tabs, Brian Greenfield is always keeping tabs on MHH, a huge one of our Super Chat superstars. Hope you're doing well, Brian. Thanks for joining us on Saturday night. Nick, Brian wants to know, if you had a choice of Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson at around the same cost, who would you prefer? So, Brian, we're assuming that a deal doesn't get done with Dak, and you have a comparable offer that the Texans are interested in, and it really comes down to the Broncos, right? Who do they want more, Dak Prescott or Deshaun Watson? What say you, Nick?
I mean, if both are available, Deshaun Watson's a top 5 quarterback and Dak's a top 10 quarterback. So you take Deshaun. But the thing about Dak is that if he's available, odds are it's through free agency. So you don't have to give up the ample capital to go get him. You can build a better team around him because you're not losing all those picks and players as well if you're trading for Deshaun Watson. But I mean, I could be talking to either one. I think Dak is still an up-and-coming quarterback. You've seen him hit strides year after year. And I'm going to say this, and this might upset some people, but is there a more overrated player than Ezekiel Elliott? I mean, you watch that guy. He just does not have burst. I mean, he is super overrated. And that's kind of the thing with running backs. I mean, we saw it with Todd Gurley. They have 1, 2, 3 great years and then down the crapper. And Zeke has not been good. That team's been carried by Dak in the past year and a half.
Yes.
So I like them both. Deshaun Watson's, top 5 quarterback. If it's in a vacuum, give me Deshaun. But Dak's good, man.
Dak's good, man. You're right. I'd say top 15 for Dak for me right now. So from going from top 5 to top 15, I'm going top 5 all the way with Deshaun. But Dak's interesting. Two stylistically different quarterbacks, even their physical build. So here's the thing I like about Dak. I like his build a little bit more than
Mhm.
Deshaun's because he's a little thicker, right? A little bit sturdier of a cat, but he's
Yeah.
got those lower leg injuries. Deshaun is also able to be, he's cut up in an Abercrombie model, I'm sure, but his slim body allows him to manipulate his arm. It allows him to move, to be mobile, not just athletic. Man, they're both great guys, but Brian, I gotta go with Deshaun, man. I gotta go with Deshaun. So Chase coming in here. Chase, what's up, buddy? Thanks for joining MHI. He's coming in with Zeke fell off a cliff. And you guys are
Yeah.
exactly right. And Nick loves running backs. He'll be the first to tell you. No, Zeke was extremely overpaid, in my opinion. What he did
Yeah.
to that team and like kind of holding the team hostage, I thought was just jacked up. If you're Dak, I'm absolutely angry at that. You're gonna go pay Zeke, but I can't get a contract. Give me a break. It's the quarterback market too, Jerry. It's quarterback market. Guys are going to set new numbers. That's how it goes. Whether or not they deserve the money, that doesn't really matter. That's the thing about the business of football that people have
Who's
got
next
to
up?
understand. Exactly. And who's willing to set the market? That's something we're going to find out with Justin Simmons. And
Yeah.
a little tease for you guys in Broncos country. Was talking to Bawanabees before the show, and John's a sleuth, man. He's a sleuth. He's a web sleuth, a Broncos sleuth. He finds out information and gets to the dirt. He found audio and video of Justin Simmons talking about Drew Lock that's not out there right now. It will be released on milehighhuddle.com. Be sure to check at Mile High Huddle Twitter for that in the next 48 hours. And Mundungus coming in here with a 199 super. What about Alex Smith?
Oh, well, Alex Smith, I mean, I see in the comment section, everybody was saying Big Ben's arm fell off, and Big Ben definitely is coming to the end. It wasn't to the extent that we saw with Drew Brees this year, but another guy, I mean, Alex Smith, hats off to him, coming back this year, comeback player of the year. The guy who didn't vote for him is an idiot. I don't even know who it is, but I don't need to know.
Yeah,
Idiot.
I don't need to
But
know.
that's Alex Smith. I think he's interesting, and I would be interested in bringing him in, but only for super cheap. And I think he has a huge cap hit too. So
Does he?
I don't know. I mean, I might even rather bring in that's comparable to bringing in Andy Dalton from a tools position at this point. So it would be interesting. And maybe if he wants to come in, and maybe you can kind of get him to be a future coach as well, if he's interested in that at all. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And then, I'm seeing in here Blake Bortles would outplay Lock in a full off-season camp. Laugh out loud. Man, okay, so here's another thing. I think Chad wrote it up. Correct me if I'm wrong, John, but there was another great article. Guys, get over to milehighhuddle.com for the best Broncos coverage. We got articles. We're spitting out articles on the hour, Nick. I mean, You're writing multiple articles. I'm writing multiple articles. Chad's all over it. Zach's all over it. Keith. Eric's name's in there, writing up articles, doing videos. Lance, Carl, what's going on with Carl? I need crazy Carl in here when I'm starting to talk about betting odds, and I have to look up what the betting odds are for plus 150 and the Broncos getting Deshaun Watson, because Carl's another one of those guys like Bob, a great numbers guy, understands contracts. Be sure to get at Carl as well with building the Broncos. But dude, this is the thing, man. And it was Colin Cowherd who came out, and I'm not going to keep talking Colin, but saying Drew Lock's the fifth best quarterback in the AFC West. Dude, we can talk about all that and rank all that, and it doesn't really matter, though. Drew Lock knows he's going to be challenged. I think Drew Lock cares. I hope that Drew Lock's putting in the work. I heard Troy Rank say that Drew Lock has been at the facility. He has been working out. He's talked with George Payton. So those things are happening, and Drew Lock is still expecting to be here. I don't think he's expecting to be the starter, but he's preparing to be the starter. And that's something that I respect. I'm really curious to see how Drew Lock is going to come out in training camp if he's still here. Because, Nick, I just get the feeling, and it's something I wanted to ask you, I don't think this Deshaun Watson thing is going to happen anytime soon. I really don't. I want it to, and I keep checking my phone every 5 seconds, and I was scared today. Earlier, I scared all of you guys, and I saw the Chicago Bears fake Sports Center thing with Deshaun Watson. We got him per Adam Schefter, and they totally got me. The trolls got me there. But, Nick, when do you expect, if this move is going to happen, if Deshaun Watson's going to be traded, When do you think that's realistically going to happen?
It's really interesting because obviously we talked about it. Right now, the Jets and the Dolphins, two teams that have the second and third overall pick, seem to be interested. I know that the Dolphins recently had a, hey, we believe in Tua, but if you have Deshaun Watson available, you can only believe in Tua to a certain extent. But you have that deadline of the NFL draft coming up, and after that, you lose a lot of value, a known value, like a team like the Jets, like the Dolphins. Where are they picking next year? You don't know. You have the guarantee of the second and the third pick right now, as well as both those teams having an additional first round pick this year. So that's the first one. The Texans, if they don't get value and they're still holding out hope, I could see them playing chicken. I mean, they did the same thing with Jadeveon Clowney, where they held on to him for a while and they shot themselves in the foot. They took lesser value later because they didn't trade him before the draft. And then there was less teams that were interested because they filled him out and they just didn't have the known capital to trade them. So if that happens, I mean, Broncos trading down from 9 this year, which it sounds like it's something that George Paton is interested in doing. If they do that and they get some 2022 capital, the Broncos are even further in the driver's seat. But the concern there is if it does hold out past the draft, then you're seeing it's open to the whole league then. Right now, it's kind of based on the draft order and where these teams have value in the picks. But if it comes post-draft, then you're talking about teams like the Bears have a real shot. The
Raiders.
Washington football team. I was going to get to it. The Raiders have a much better shot as well. So
I hate them.
The Broncos might have a better chance then because then you're losing the value of the Jets and the Dolphins, but then it's open for all these other teams as well. So, you're messing with fire there.
You're playing with fire, and we are always playing with fire here on MHI, rocking with you guys on Saturday night. And Dehan, I hope I'm pronouncing that. Please get at me again and let me know because your names are important. They matter.
Yeah.
And I don't care if they're a nickname, they're a funny name. As long as I can read it and it's appropriate, we're going to shout you out. So another question coming in. Does a Sam Darnold trade cost more or less than a Carson Wentz trade? Nick, this is something we were going to get to, and I'm so glad it was brought up because Wannabeast actually has it on his Twitter account right now. He's got a poll going. Go vote. In my opinion, Sam Darnold's value has significantly decreased after the Carson Wentz trade. I mean, I'm not a Carson Wentz guy, but I will tell you this, that a guy who was actually in the running for MVP, he's got more value than Sam Darnold, who doesn't have a big enough sample size, and it's with the Jets. Okay, it's with the Jets. So I think Sam Darnold's cost is going to go down. Not sure what the Jets are going to do yet, though. I mean, that Robert Saleh, he's playing things pretty close to the vest, just like the rest of these teams. What do you think, Nick? I think his value went down considering what the Colts did to snatch up Carson Wentz.
I mean, the thing is, the Jets don't have as much, I guess, they have more leverage to hold on to Darnold. If they don't get a deal they like, it's the same thing with the Broncos. Why would they trade Drew Lock if they get a quarterback in the first? Teams need quarterbacks. It is a very valuable thing to have multiple quarterbacks. So if you don't get value you want, guess what? I'm holding on to both of them. I don't care. Pay me what you want, or I'm not going to trade him. So it is one less team that's looking for a quarterback and one less team that was desperate for a quarterback, and that does limit the market. But I still think Darnold's probably going to get a decent contract. I mean, he's younger than Drew Lock, despite playing in the league longer. He's been in a much worse situation. I mean, you stack the Broncos offensive line and weapons next to the Jets. There's probably only one player on that Jets team I'm taking over the Broncos, and that's Mekhi Becton over there. Other than that, the offense is dreadful. I mean, the weapons they have is just bad. So I think Darnold will get a shot. I mean, a lot of people, he was a number 3 overall pick for a reason. There's a pedigree there. Somebody will take him. Is he going to get a pick that's like a 3rd round this year and a conditional pick that could go up to a 1? Probably not. Maybe not that high, but I think I could see him getting a 3 this year and a 2 next year. I mean, it's just teams are desperate, man. Teams need quarterbacks. What's Washington football team going to go with next year? They're going to go with Tyler Heineke again, the corpse of Alex Smith. There's desperate teams out there. Jets, Matt Nagy. I mean, this is last year. This is Ryan Pace. Bleeper, get off the pot. These teams got to get quarterbacks. They don't have an option. They have to pay the price.
They have to pay the price, and I like that, man. That's just it. You gotta pay to play, so to speak, man. And,
especially when you have to make it this year, right? Like your window is now.
Sure.
If you don't do it, you're fired. So that creates desperation. That's a bad place to be, and that's one thing that I keep coming back to with the Broncos. They are looking at the market, but Locke is exceedingly cheap. there's upside still there. He played better down the stretch. I know you're trying to lean into the Lock hater stuff. I'm trying to be the boring middle ground where it's like, I can see both sides.
No way.
That guy
I'm
always
gonna
gets killed in
drag
the
you
movies.
down in the
That's
mud
me.
with us. I'm gonna drag you down in the mud with me, man, and get dirty with the dogs because I am embracing it at this point because there's no change in it, man. There's no change in it. It doesn't matter how many times I spit the same garbage into this microphone of I loved Drew Lock coming out of Missouri. Okay, I loved him. Nick, I said on this show last week, I wanted him in the first round. How awful would that have been? Okay. But I'm not seeing what I need to see. That's it. That being said, I don't want Sam Darnold here. I'd just assume roll out Drew Lock. I don't hate Drew Lock that much. I'm not that much of a hater if I'm willing to, say no to some of these quarterbacks. Because, dude, Andy Dalton, I don't want that. Roll Drew Lock out there again if that's the case. But
somebody had a good comment here. It's like, well, why would you go with Darnold? You already have the same guy, but cheaper in Drew Lock, somebody who turns the ball over like crazy and has high flashes, but really low floors. So, there you go. So EA Shalom coming in, and we got a super chat again from Mundungus. Let's get to this real quick.
Yeah.
Houston almost has to trade Watson before the draft. Watson has already said he will sit out if he does. Without a first round pick, what does Houston do at QB? Watson has a lot of power right now. I mean, that team is in a situation where they probably just need to tear it down completely and rebuild. I mean, you have JJ Watt out the window. Deshaun Watson was incredible last year, and they have the 3rd overall pick. It's a bad team. It is a bad team. Tear it down. There's no reason. If you're going to suck, just own it. You don't want, and there's you can be, young and bad. You can be young and good. You can be old and good. If you're old and bad, you're done. And that's where the Texans find themselves right now, especially on defense. So just like you tear it down. Tear it down. You got a new team in there. You got a new GM, new head coach, trade Watson, and then kind of just kick the can. Go ahead.
The Denver Broncos think the Houston Texans are disorganized. That is saying something. And that's not me taking a shot at the Broncos. That's me just saying something that's the truth. Denver's disorganized too. I don't know why Vic Fangio, and dude, I know you'll give me pushback right away. I don't know why Vic Fangio's still here, if I'm be honest with you. Like Mike Kliss has called this, and I love Klissy. He called this year the year of the lame ducks. Nick, because you've got Elway who's 1 foot out the door. You got Ellis supposedly 1 foot out the door. Vic Fangio is on that hot seat. It's burning up. This very well could be the year of, Lock is here and then we tear it down this next year. Deshaun Watson he's holding us hostage. He's holding us hostage, Nick.
He's holding the conversations of the podcast hostage.
Dude, he's holding me hostage. He's in my mind. I got tons of love for Deshaun Watson. I'm always looking for that update. But dude, that was big. John McClain guaranteeing that the Denver Broncos would not land him. Don't worry, Broncos country. Don't worry. You're still in the running, says the wise guys in Vegas. And I see Richie Rich coming at me. Fangio's not the problem. Dude. How many points did his defense give up? Was it like 437 points, 433 points, something like that? That's a problem. But they had guys
like you and me playing cornerback there down the stretch. Like it was bad. And they've used no first round picks or second round picks on the defense since Bradley Chubb. They haven't made big splash signings. They brought in like elderly guys for nothing. Everybody's like, oh, Jarrell Casey, he was available for a 7th round pick for a reason. AJ Boye, available for a 4th round pick for a reason. This is a team that they've been pouring resources in the offensive side of the ball, and hopefully there's good things down the line. That's kind of their seedlings right now. There is growth to come, and that should be exciting. The offensive core. There's a reason that the Broncos are connected to Deshaun. Outside of the quarterback position, this has a great. We're Druthers. Jeremy. This team has a great offensive core. They're ready to take off. It's the same thing. We saw it with the Broncos in 2012 when they had, 2011 to 2012. You had Tebow and you had all these young weapons. Like, they're inconsistent. They were held back by the quarterback. You get that quarterback in there, they take off. JT coming in here. I disagree. I think Fangio is an issue. He preached accountability when he came in, preached no death by inches. All I've seen is death by inches and accountability issues. His game management is poor. You can talk the talk, but you got to walk the walk. And as far as clock management goes, Fangio has not done that. So you're definitely 100% right there. I got nothing to say there. That's my biggest complaint with Fangio.
No, I hear you. I don't hate Vic Fangio. I just don't think he's a very good head coach. And that's just kind of where I'm at. Like defensive coordinator, you bet. But dude, look, I'm just going to say it. The Broncos hired the wrong man, Vic Fangio. They should have hired gosh, I'm blanking his name right now, and I shouldn't because he's our Hall of Fame offensive Mike Munchak. They should have hired Mike Munchak to run this team. You want to talk about a leader of men? Let's go that route. And then give me an offensive coordinator I wonder who Mike Munchak would hire as an offensive coordinator. You talk about head coach, and we were, talking about Mike Tomlin, dude. How great is Mike Tomlin at accountability? How great is Mike Tomlin at deviating work and responsibility to those under him? That's why you see these coaching trees have so much success. I think Vic just has a hard time with that. And Rich, I see Rich coming at me. If you could find it, Beast. Rich was asking Luke, how many defensive players did we draft, that were worth a squat in the first and second round and stuff like that? I hear you. We went back-to-back wide receivers. I get it. We thought it was the best thing ever at the time.
And the year before, offense.
Yeah. So I hear you. But that's John. Rich. And John's not calling these shots anymore. Luke. So he's asking Luke, how many defensive players did we draft in the top 4 picks last year? What was the percentage of offensive picks in 2020? Luke, you're exactly right, Rich. You're exactly right. Tons of offensive picks. And I'm not just going to say, well, look at Michael Jamudia and all his problems. I like that kid a lot. Yeah. I think he gets a ton of heat, and I don't know why. Okay, what'd he do? He threw hands once in this last year and then got plugged for a second. But, dude, this kid is going to be a baller, Nick. I like him a lot. I can finally pronounce his name. But I hear you. Defense is not the problem. It's certainly not the answer. And Mundungus has been killing it all night. Byron Leftwich for a head coach. Nick, this has been an article I've been wanting to write, but I can't tie it to the Broncos because we're a year from that, dude. Like, I can't. Byron Leftwich isn't going to leave to come here. Like, let's say Deshaun Watson comes into the Mile High City. That deal gets done. Deshaun Watson says, dude, I don't want Pat Shurmur here. Okay, guess what's going to happen? The Broncos are going to fire Pat Shurmur. Who do you want here, Deshaun? I want Byron Leftwich. I want Eric Bieniemy. Why would they take jobs leaving Super Bowl franchises to come to the Broncos? It's not an article I can write, Nick, because I have to wait an entire year, the year of the lame duck, just to get through this, man. And it bothers me because Byron Leftwich for a head coach, it's going to happen someday, dude, because I like it a lot. I'm really happy for Byron.
Yeah, I just kind of have a hard time putting that much blame on Vic Fangio. I mean, what he's been able to do with the defense, that's his gig, and he kind of does not want to focus on the offense as much, just like Bill Belichick doesn't focus on the offense as much. He focuses on the defense, and it's not an issue when you have a great quarterback. It is an issue when you have a bottom 5 quarterback playing there, which Drew Lock has been the last 2 years, and Joe Flacco the same. So I definitely hear you. I don't have as much of a hardcore stance as you do in the Vic Fangio realm. But let's talk. I wanted to get on this a little bit. We talked about it a little bit yesterday on Twitter as well. Yep. Tell me on Jacoby Brissett, because I know that I lump him the same with Nick Foles.
He's not Andy Dalton. Sold?
I mean, if he's cheaper than Andy Dalton, then heck yeah, that's probably the thing that makes the difference for me. But I just kind of lump him as the same. And I have my full disclosure, my 2 best friends are both Colts fans. I watch a good amount of Colts games. And I've had to deal with watching Jacoby Brissett and a great offensive line just not do anything. He's a mediocre athlete, and he's got a noodle arm. And he might be able to run the Shurmur offense better than Mock because I think he has better accuracy and better anticipation. But still, it's just like, we're spinning the wheels at that point.
I don't think he has a noodle arm at all, man. I think he has I think he is actually pretty inaccurate in terms of passing. And so it's different, man, because here's my thing with him, dude. He's got one of the same problems Drew Lock has. He holds onto the ball way too damn long. And then by then he's in trouble. Nick, you're right. He's not athletic, to say the least. Go watch him
Unless you ask Stephen A. Smith.
Unless you ask Von Miller, who couldn't sack Jacoby Brissett last year. Oh, Von Miller burn. There we go. But it's just not last year, 2 years ago, I guess, right? But
full disclosure, I did not watch that game. That was on my wedding day. So
okay, there you go then. Well,
I watched
even better, huh? But no, man, I'm not. It's not that I want to sell people on Jacoby Brissett. It's that he's the same viable option as the other veteran quarterbacks. Now with Phillip Rivers, I think he took like 43 snaps all year, and they actually put him in to throw the ball long because they knew Phillip Rivers' arm was shot, talking about, Ben Roethlisberger and stuff like that. But dude, I like Jacoby Brissett, the person, a ton, dude. This is a player. Yeah, this is a player that, and you said it last night, man, his teammates love him. The community loves him. He's a player that negotiated his own contract twice because he said, I think it was, quote, I don't like other people BSing about my stuff. He's an intelligent young man. I think he comes in and immediately gets the respect of the team. I think he gives a little bit more of an offensive identity than an Andy Dalton or a Ryan Fitzpatrick would, because Fitz is cool, right? He's, looking like Conor McGregor with the shades down there and the beard and everything. But the Broncos don't need that. I don't need cool. I sound like Colin Cowherd right now. I don't need cool. We already got cool with Drew Lock, but I just think he's another option, and it's not an option that I'm hearing floated out there. And I want to make Broncos country aware. He is a free agent quarterback, and I seriously doubt he wants to be a backup behind Carson Wentz in returning to Indy. I've also seen his name connected with the San Francisco 49ers as a potential backup, not a starter, but a potential backup. So if you're the Denver Broncos and you're talking to Jacoby Brissett, maybe you tell Jacoby, look, man, we can offer you competition for the number one job. It's going to be between you and Drew Lock. If Jacoby's willing to take less to do that, I'm in, man. I'm absolutely in, because that's less money that we could pay to Justin Simmons. You're going to have a big decision to come up with Cortland Sutton, Dalton Reisner, some of these guys down the line. And the thing has been, John Elway hasn't paid his own guys. He pays everybody else's guys. It's going to be interesting to see what George Payton does, specifically with Justin Simmons in the next week or so.
Okay, we got DNV coming in here, and I guarantee you and I are going to have opposite opinions on this. Let me preface this by saying, DNV, let's read it first. What about Cam Newton? The first thing I will say is, you just said you don't want a cool quarterback. Well, that probably means no to you on Cam Newton, but I do think that Cam Newton still has something in the tank and would be a better quarterback than Drew Lock, and he would come in and immediately raise the floor of the team. Cam Newton had his early career with Mike Shula, who is the Broncos quarterback coach. So there is some known quantity there. And in the NFL, it is a who-you-know league. So that can matter. I don't know if he's the best fit for Shermer.
And Shula loves him, by the way. Yeah, I've heard that directly from multiple sources over at the Broncos. Cam loves Shula. Those two, they're boys. I know it's an unlikely pair, but you're right, dude. They're very close, man.
Yeah. So the thing with Cam is that you might be able to get him and come in and probably, 1-2 year deal. It's not a big commitment. I just think that I don't think we can overstate how bad the offensive surrounding and supporting cast is on that Patriots team. They are trash. It's the worst tight ends in football. I can't even name them off the top of my head. And I go through rosters like on the daily depth charts. Their best wide receiver is Jacoby Myers, who I think was an undrafted free agent. Julian Edelman's a nothing anymore. Their running backs have been bad. I mean, this is a terrible team.
How dare you? They have one of our own, Chatfield High School's own, Dalton Keene, a player that I liked coming out of college. That's the only tight end I know, and he's not even the starting tight end, Nick. So that kind of proves your point, dude. I think he's like the third string guy, and that's the only tight end I know on that team. It's an awful team.
It is terrible. And everybody, the reason people were saying like, oh, Brady maybe fell off, I think it has a lot to do with how just absolutely terrible the Patriots supporting cast is. So if there's somebody who I think is a buy low candidate that you could probably get more out of than meets the eye, I think it is Cam Newton. Now there's a lot of, I guess, media and attention that would come with Cam Newton. And obviously the fans here seem like they're very much against it. But that's somebody who I think would raise the floor of this room a lot. And also, maybe this is just me getting my hopes up, but if you get a Cam Newton, you're kind of running that style of offense, it opens the door for a Justin Fields. It opens the door for a Trey Lance. And make no mistakes about it. Everybody's talking about, oh, what would the Broncos do with quarterback if they draft one early? Like, the independent of drafting a quarterback early, they're going to bring in a veteran quarterback. They have to. They can't go into the situation. They're going to bring in a vet. So if you bring in a Cam Newton, you really set yourself up to just really easily pass the torch to a Justin Fields or Trey Lance.
That would mean, that's interesting, Nick, because that would mean that you've got your veteran, you've got a potential backup in Drew Lock, and then your rookie in the waiting. I mean, that's interesting.
And Peyton's done that many times.
I wish now Peyton hasn't done that. His people have done that, and he's been a part of it. So I know it's politically correct, all that stuff, but that's all we have to go off on, right? Because we don't know this guy. And the one thing that you and I don't do is we don't make stuff up. and say, like, we know that George Paton's going to do this. We don't know. All we can go off of is the people that he's been associated with. He's a very tight-lipped individual from what I understand. So, I guess he's getting up, and I don't know if you guys have seen that. Broncos country, go look at the videos on Twitter. He's getting up at 4 a.m., 4:50 a.m., getting the grind going and all this stuff. And it's interesting because you start to wonder, they're backing up the Brinks trucks a little, not Brinks trucks, but they're backing up the truck a little bit, saying, no, we don't have a problem with Drew. We really like Drew and things of that nature. Again, a little bit of spin because you
don't see what I'm doing with this hand. Look over at this one right here, Drew. Yeah, we love you. Let's make all these moves. Let's on Deshaun Watson, talking about Dak Prescott, talking about Deshaun Watson.
We weren't going to trade you to Detroit, Drew. We wouldn't do you like that, man. George loves you. You're great. Everything's fine. Again, some of that spin that you got to watch out for. But as we wrap up our 7:00 show, Mundungus is coming in a heavy hitter tonight, buddy. I really appreciate your help, your donations. If Denver is really serious about sticking with Pat Shurmur, how do you not go and get Mac Jones? Perfect Shurmur scheme fit. Mundungus, here's something I got to tell you, man, and you're going to tell me my own philosophy right back to me. Mac Jones is too rich a pick for me at number 9. He really is, man. And now he was the belle of the ball at the Senior Bowl, but that ball didn't have a lot of other dancers in it, so to speak. So, it's really tough to sometimes overhype a guy. And maybe I was just a little too excited after seeing his performance. But Mac Jones, the Broncos spent some time with him on the phone during the Senior Bowl and stuff like that. They're giving him a look, just like they're giving all those other quarterbacks a look. But Pat Shurmur, I don't like it. I would much rather have Vic Fangio here than Pat Shurmur, but Shurmur doesn't bend to any of his quarterbacks, dude. He doesn't bend to any of them. It's his system. It's his way or the highway. And the successful NFL teams right now in the NFL are bending to their quarterbacks, and you see the results. Pat Shurmur does not do that, Nick, and it bothers me. So Mac Jones, Deshaun Watson, whoever it is, Pat Shurmur going to bend to them? My opinion, no way.
I would say Shurmur did bend a little bit down the stretch this year. You saw far less empty sets. You saw far more under center plays. You saw far more 12 personnel moving away from 11 personnel, stuff that Drew Lock was struggling with, because if there's more reads out there, he tends to struggle. So just is what it is. So I do think that each manipulated the offense a little bit down the stretch to kind of figure out what was working and what wasn't working. But I do think also he's running a system that was meant for the Peyton Mannings, the Joe Flacco's, the Case Keenums of the world, not these athletic quarterbacks. Like Kyle Orton could come in and run this team. I don't want to come down here and, totally poop on Mac Jones, but I do think he is being a little bit inflated where this quarterback class, and I know it's kind of been a point of conversation, is like, 2021 versus 2022. You don't know what 2022 is going to be. I think 2022 has great depth. I don't think it has the heavy hitters that 2021 has. There's not these obvious tools guys like Trevor Lawrence, like Justin Fields, like Trey Lance, and Zach Wilson's the guy who, great arm, wasn't healthy. Now he's healthy and is whipping around. Next year's got great depth. It just does not have the obvious athlete arm talent guys. So outside of Spencer Rattler, who apparently is just a horse's behind. So yikes. Oklahoma. If there's any Oklahoma fans out there, I'm sorry about that. But Mac Jones, I think he's getting artificially inflated because there's just not depth in this class. So, and he is a fit, but it just doesn't do it for me. And how many great quarterbacks are there in the league right now that are under 32 years old? Let's put the bar there, that are that limited athletically. You're limiting your whole offense. Uh-oh. Right? Like if your quarterback can't do it. We got Jody. Jody.
I got to read this. Jody. Jody Moncrief. And speaking of reading, Jody must have been reading, because you wrote a fantastic piece that I'm just going to say went viral, dude. It was a good one, man. I think Bleacher Report picked it up. And that's another thing, guys. All of our writers at My Hot Huddle, man, we are busting our tails. And go look at some of our work, man. It's getting picked up by Yahoo, Bleacher Report, all these other outlets. And I know this one hit hot. Drew Lock is garbage, and the O was dumbed down for him. And I know we've only got a few more minutes left, but obviously this is in reference to an article that Nick wrote talking about Tony Pauline on his podcast, talking about he was down at the Senior Bowl. I was down at the Senior Bowl as well. And he had basically heard that the offense was more or less dumbed down for Drew Lock. He was being spoon-fed things. And guys, I was there when that conversation happened, when he was hearing some of those things and talking with a person in the know. And I find it fascinating that this is news to Broncos country. This something we didn't know. This is something we've been talking about for the last year, Nick. And it's interesting to me, man, because Pat Shurmur, when he did cave and finally turn that stubborn switch off, Drew Lock did well. He played pretty decent. I'm not going to say great enough to be the starting quarterback, but he played well. And then he goes away from that. I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
I don't know. We're going to be having this conversation for a while now. And I guess, worst case scenario next year is that you see something like the 2017 Jags or the 2018 Bears, where the Broncos with a solid roster. I mean, they have some work to do on the defense on the personnel side, but still a solid roster. They carry a bad quarterback to a good record. I mean, that can happen. Mitchell Trubisky, Blake Bortles. I mean, they went to the AFC Championship game with Saxonville, and Blake Bortles is now, he's trash. So, it's a concern, but still, we'll see what happens. I think that I'm not ready to fully embrace the full-on Drew Lock hate. But we have Jody coming in. Josh Allen made great leaps year 3, so that means Lock will too. I mean, you're talking about an outlier there, and depending on an outlier is dangerous business,
Jody.
guys. Don't
do it, Jody. Don't do it, Jody. I know we love Josh too, but don't do it. They're two different quarterbacks.
He's at the hand of the face. No, he's saying that it's stupid to say that.
We're making all right, good. I'm like, you guys are gonna make him between me and Nick and being the Drew Lock haters and the running backs matter and everything else. But we'll wrap up the show here. I'll get a couple more in from Gary
real
Smith.
Quick. These two, Flip and Booch, and I gotta say, you can embrace the full-on Drew Lock hater. I am definitely going to have a little bit more flexibility here. Where what if Drew Lock develops and becomes a great quarterback?
That would
Crow
be
is
great.
coming. Hope you guys got good seasoning. I hope you're right. Because
when is that going to happen? Year 3, year 4, year 5? Patience, Nick. Patience. We got it. He's a kid. He's not a kid. He's a freaking grown man, dude.
50 starts in college. Yeah,
I know, and I don't mean
raw.
to go off on a rant here, but like I was thinking about today, and I'm like, dude, how do we make Drew Lock? I don't want to say tougher, but like grislier or something, dude. Like, can he grow a beard? Does he need to start smoking cigarettes? Does he need to start laying down the scotch like Aaron Rodgers? I don't know, man, but I need him to be that alpha, and I don't see an alpha. I just don't see it.
Yeah, well, I think, maybe unfortunately for you, we're fixing to find out what happens this year, year 3. I'd say Drew Lock is probably the starter this year. He's going to get competition. I do think if they bring in an Andy Dalton or whatever, if he struggles and still throws stupid interception and puts the ball in harm's way, they might go a different direction. But I do think Drew Lock is going to get the chance again this year, and we'll see what comes of it. But everybody's going to get what they want. I don't want what we don't want. We need to set this up. If people get Drew Lock year 3, the crow goes both ways, right? Like, I want everybody who is like, oh, you just got to be patient. And if he doesn't do it, if he doesn't come around, then, here we are. And probably in a worse situation draft wise, we'd have to trade up even farther to go get a worse quarterback than what would be available this year. So we'll see. But, here we go. I'm Drew's age and look 40. I'll be his spokesperson. Well, there you go.
Really, I love it, man.
But,
I love it. Yeah. And I don't know, man. I don't know if Drew can do a mustache, or he's just such a handsome guy. I don't know that he, would want to go the beard way or anything like that, dude. It's interesting, man. And I'm just, each day changes, Nick, and something new comes out every day. And who knows what tomorrow has in store. The one thing tomorrow has in store, the Huddle Up guys are back, guys. So be sure to check them out. They're starting between 6 p.m. and 6:15 with Chad Jensen and Zach Kelberman. Be sure to check out Nick's show, Building the Broncos, with Carl as well. And then we've also got the Dove Valley Deep Divers on Friday nights, Tuesday nights with Carl and Nick for Building the Broncos. Go check it out. Those cats are funny, dude. Crazy Carl. I love Crazy Carl, man. Carl's the man. Flip and Pooch coming in as we wrap up the show. Give Drew some cigs. Haha. Yeah, I know. I was telling my wife, I'm like, I don't want to go on my show and be like, let's promote tobacco use to our starting quarterback, but tongue in cheek,
color, man, it worked for him.
Yeah, tongue in cheek, man. I need some Jay Cutler look, that cigarette in his mouth, where at least he's grizzly looking, even though he was kind of a pain in the tail. But Nick, dude, this hour flew by, man. This was so much fun. Broncos country, they came with it tonight, man. They absolutely came with it. Came in hot. McDungus, appreciate all your support. The rest of the Super Chat superstars. And guys, DM Nick at Nick Kendell, MHH. DM me at Luke Patterson, LP. John also, I think it's John K, MHH.
Yes, JONKAY.
Yep, and he's nodding his head. Yeah, DM John as well, too, guys, so we can talk more. Zach was one of our big super chat guys tonight. I've been rapping with Zach all week on Twitter DM. So you guys, like Nick said, you do not have to give a donation. We appreciate all of our donations, but know that this chat is free, man. We're football junkies. We can't get enough, Nick. It's Mile High Insiders, dude. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Obviously, a lot of different opinions and directions about where the Broncos can go. You bring up a name like Andy Dalton or Cam Newton or Ben Roethlisberger in the chat, lets you know. But guys, this Broncos going to bring in a quarterback, and it's definitely a chance that it's somebody that not everybody's going to love, but just got to prepare for it. Got to look underneath every stone because that's what Peyton's doing right now. And we're going to talk about every single possibility as well. That's what makes the offseason great, guys. And we're going to keep bringing it to you guys during this offseason. That's going to do it for Mile High Insiders tonight, though, guys. Check out milehighhuddle.com. A lot of draft content, a lot of quarterback talk, a lot of other stuff going on there, cap conversations. I mean, we got it all there. We got every single guy covering a bunch of different stuff. And, new articles every day, like Luke said. Also go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. Probably the most important thing you guys can do to help us is like, subscribe, and share if you're joining us on YouTube. Click those thumbs up if you are on Facebook. That really helps us a lot. Become a supporter. Join our Facebook page as well, the Mile High Huddle Super Fans. A lot of good conversations going on there as well. Follow us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle and at MHI_football pod. Luke, you got any plans the rest of the night? I see a lot of people coming in here. Lock's good for 1.5 turnovers a game. Elway could be the guy. Thanks, guys. Great pod. Thank you guys in the chats. But Luke, plans the rest of the night. Anything fun going on?
I'm gonna go to sleep, man. I'm an old man. I was telling John I went out on the town for a few cold pops last night. I'm so much more not a guy that goes out, not because of the world or anything, just because I'm a homebody now, man. I've got a kid. I've got a wife, the dogs, everything. Dude, I went out, had a few cold pops, and I'm hurting. I'm hurting, man. I'm not a kid anymore, dude. And I'm not a big drinker or anything, man, but I'm hurting. So, my exciting life, I'm going to bed, buddy. I'm going to bed. It's snowing here in the Mile High City. Thoughts and prayers to everybody experiencing cold and hard times. We know it's a tough time for the country in general, the world in general. So if we could just reach out and make you smile for at least an hour, because I know you guys do that for us. I know Nick gets super excited to come on. I do too. This is a blast, man. This means so much to me. Nick, you kicked butt today, dude. John's always killing it as well. And I just appreciate the conversation because, guys, it's okay to disagree. That's the biggest thing. I just want to finally say that it's okay to disagree because it doesn't mean it has to be personal either. This is football and I'm wrong all the time. Nick's right all the time. And it's just one of those things, man, where it's okay to debate. It's okay to get after each other. And it's fun, dude. If we all agreed, this would be boring, Nick, and I wouldn't have fun.
Yeah, and I guess, Luke, I keep saying I'm trying to take the middle ground here, but Stoney Neff is saying I've been talking about how much I hate Drew Lock for every show for 4 months now. I'm just a Drew doubter, guys. I guess I'm not a hater. I'm a Drew doubter.
You're in, dude.
I'm
You're
fighting
in.
it, man. I'm saying that it's not likely he becomes a top 10 quarterback, but it's still possible. So you're saying there's a chance. Dumb and Dumber. Let's get out of here, guys. We appreciate you. Stay safe. We really do appreciate you guys. And go Broncos.
Go Broncos.